Welcome to Financial Freedom through the Word of God. Hi, I'm Diane. And I'd like to say, as a great reminder for this course, that financial freedom begins in your heart, not your bank account. And so today we are going to dive into the dungeon of enslavement. That's one of the financial bondages. And we were going through these financial bondages in previous episodes. So think about if we could see, here's my trusty yellow chain here. Whoa, if we could see with God's eyes, we would see a multitude of people walking around probably with chains, a steel band around their foreheads, or a big chain around their neck, or you won't be able to see this one, shackles on their feet, just to have your imagination for that one. But what is enslavement? Let's get a definition so you know what we're talking about here. Again, a financial bondage is a yoke that prevents you from experiencing financial freedom in your finances. And a lot of times I think we end up dragging around all these ideas, thoughts, misconceptions, and we become enslaved. But what definition of enslavement means? The state of being enslaved. How's that one? Slavery, bondage, servitude. Now let me explain. Basically, money and material possessions have attached demands for protection and maintenance. Protection and maintenance. And what happens is the things we own soon own us. See, money and material possessions, they're tools. Tools for us to use to proclaim the good news. And we can become enslaved. Now, that doesn't mean you don't accumulate wealth. It doesn't mean that at all. But what I'm saying is, and we'll cover this a little bit more, we've got to be careful that the things we own don't end up owning us. Because according to the Word of God, to be free, it says in Galatians 5:1, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty where Christ has made us free, and do not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage. Now, I've lived in, as of this, 3 different states as of this filming. And for a practice, I've end up cleaning out, your house every time you got to move. The less things you have to move, the better. That's for me anyway. So enslavement, as far as decluttering my home and things like that, hasn't been a big bondage, but it has for other people. I can't say it hasn't been any at all, but it hasn't been like a huge thing. Usually, before I purchase something, I ask myself, can I afford this? Not just in terms of initial outlay, but also in terms of I've got to maintain this. Do I need to get insurance or protection on it? What's going to be that maintenance of this item? Is it worth the benefit kind of thing? I mean, I used to be a financial planner, and I probably would have planned my whole life out ahead of me for the rest of my life if God let me. But he loved me too much to let me do that because he wants us to trust him, listen to him, and depend on him. So we got to realize not to do things our own way. So when I think of being a slave, let me give you some examples. We want to make sure the things we own don't soon end up owning us. And here's some examples I can think of. Well, I like to work out at the gym. It probably doesn't show, but think of a treadmill. You're walking on this machine, and you're walking and walking and walking, but you're not going anywhere. Now, I like to walk, don't get me wrong. I mean, I walk around my neighborhood, but I'm going places, seeing things that are different. But if you're on a treadmill, you're not going anywhere. And a couple examples would be running to keep up with the Joneses. You're not going anywhere, really. You're just really staying in one place. running ahead of the bill collectors and got to get ahead of them. Or even just how about digging yourself out of debt that you think this is hopeless, I'm never going to get out. So when you think of these things, they may end up you could feel like you're a slave to money or you're a slave to material things. And I want to share this verse with you in 1 Timothy 6:10. Everyone probably realizes the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not money, it's the love of it. But I like the JB Phillips Translation, and this is what it says. For men who set their hearts on being wealthy expose themselves to temptation. Now, there's nothing wrong with being wealthy. You have wealth, and so don't I, and it's in your heart. But listen what they're saying. Their heart is set on the wealth, not God. There's a big difference. They fall into one of the world's oldest traps. And they lay themselves open to all sorts of silly and wicked desires. See, God's not in the picture here. Which are quite capable of utterly ruining and destroying their souls. For loving money, there's the key, loving money, leads to all kinds of evil. And some men in the struggle to be rich, see, God has no sorrow with it, but as the struggle to be rich, have lost their faith and caused themselves untold agonies of mind. So that verse is for understanding. It's enslaving, and the enslavement happens in the mind because loving money or serving money and not God is what creates this illusion. And we need to remember in this soul that, beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health even as your soul prospers. Well, what's your soul? Your mind, your will, and your emotions. So money in and of itself, it can't buy you happiness. Now, it can probably make you comfortable while you're miserable. I've heard that. But it really doesn't make you happy. It's a poor God, let me tell you that way. Because you were made in God's image. You're his child. And if you're made in his image, God is pretty wealthy. I mean, he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. So thinking of your Father in heaven and his standards is really the only true way to be free and not have these enslavements. So a good question to ask was, how do you know if you're being enslaved? Let me give you some symptoms of being trapped, enslaved by money or material possessions, to see if any of these ring true to you. Are you worried, fretful, or anxious about anything? Are you constantly mismanaging your money? You're always in trouble. Do you say all the time, I can't afford that? Are you driven to impulse buying? Ever notice at the grocery store, that's why they put all this stuff, or actually any store, right before the register as you leave? That's the impulse buying trap. Are you stingy and you don't spend money on things that God would want you to have, or you're just stingy, plain old stingy mentality? Do you look at others and long for what they have? Oh, I think I want that. Or do you complain? I don't ever have enough. Watch the words of your mouth, because if any of these, or the debt thing, I mean, you have all this looming debt, there's a hole there. Oh, I'll never. Wow, listen to the words of your mouth. That could tell you, I could be enslaved in any one of these areas. So how do you get free? There is hope. We're going to get you free. Proverbs 4, 7 through 9 talks about the key. And I didn't have a big enough key, but if you can see this key, there's a key to financial freedom. There's a key to unlock the treasures. And that key is, Proverbs talks about wisdom. Wisdom is the principal thing. Wisdom is the main focus. And where do you get wisdom? From the Word of God. Oh, we got to go to the Bible? We don't go to Bill Gates or William Buffett. Or how about the world? They got all kinds of wealth going on over there. No, that's not the wealth that is going to set you free. Wisdom on how to get free and truly stay free is, again, starts in your heart. And I love this verse, John 3:2. Beloved, I wish above all things that you may prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. It's the soul that needs to prosper to bring the wealth. And that's where we need some enlightenment in our mind. It's called renewing the mind. So step one is always a good place to start. You see all this enslavement in your life and you say, God, help me to change. So you really have to recognize that first. Because if you don't want to change, God's not going to help you. Because you have to be willing. So God, help me to change. All the discipline. Oh, I'll never do this, or I'm going to do this. It's all self-effort, and it only goes so far. And it isn't going to last either. But here's great hope, because it is the Bible that's on your bookshelf, or that's in your cell phone, or that's on the coffee table, or wherever you keep the Bible. That is the key, the wisdom, the principal thing. That's the one that's going to allow you to change and get out of the bondage. And getting your mind, the mind of God, is what is going to help. And let me tell you this story, and we'll end with this. I'm going to pull out the Bible again. I trust this. Maybe some of you grew up in a home where you had this huge family Bible. I mean, this is a regular one. I mean, the one that's like big, probably covered this table, where it was white, thick, and it sat on a table. For me in my house, I had this huge Bible, and it sat on the bookshelf in my room. And we were told, out of ignorance, no condemnation for these people who told you can't understand the Bible back then, only certain people can understand it. So we would have this and never opened it, never read it. And I was volunteering at a conference in Womack Ministries, greeting people at the door. And there was this other lady there, and I was talking to her, and she was telling me how she grew up in a home where they read the Word. She read the Bible. Her mom always emphasized the Word of God. And it hit me. I had Jesus in that big family Bible in my room all the years I was growing up, and I never knew him. I knew about him, but I never knew him. The wisdom from that word is what sets you free. That's what we need. And that's the key. The power to get wealth, it doesn't come from the outside. It comes from inside your heart. And we're going to discover more on this journey to financial freedom through the Word of God. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. Hi, I'm Diane Grubis, and I've started a ministry, and I want to bless you. I'm so excited about it. DianeGrubis.com. Go to the website and check out all the wonderful things that we have in store for you. We have some great epic conversations with some powerful guests and some teachings, free downloads. And we would love to have you join us, love to have you partner with us. We appreciate you, and we want to hear from you. So check out the website, and thank you.